So, the story kicks off 5 years ago in Cairo, where a slick heist is already in motion. We're at the super fancy mansion of some Egyptian billionaire, and the bad guys are doing what they do best, breaking in. Mr. Shark, the king of disguises, smooth talks his way past security, while Mr. Snake and Mr. Piranha create a sneaky entrance for Mr. Wolf to sneak through. And let's not forget their newest crew member, Miss Tarantula, who's handling the hacking like a total tech wizard. Once the whole team gets inside the mansion, Mr. Wolf fills us in. Their real mission isn't to steal money or jewels. It's to take the billionaire's rare, shiny car. Yep, they're pulling off an entire heist just to steal a sweet ride. And of course, once they're behind the wheel and speeding off, the cops show up in full force. But Wolf's driving is straight up insane, in a good way. He zips around the streets like he's in a video game, throwing off the cops at every turn. Just when it looks like they're totally trapped at a bridge blocked by police, Tarantula saves the day. She spots a ramp and guides them to launch the car through the air, dodging the trap and leaving the cops in the dust. Fast forward to today, and things are a little rougher. Wolf's driving an old beat-up car and heading to a job interview. People on the street are laughing at his ride, but Wolf just powers through, giving us a quick recap. After that big heist, everything changed. The bad guys decided to go legit. They helped stop an evil villain named Marmalade and became heroes for the city. But even after saving the day, life hasn't been easy. Wolf walks into a bank to apply for a job, but it gets real awkward real fast. Turns out he's robbed this exact bank 3 times in the past. Not a great first impression. The rest of the gang isn't doing any better. Every job interview they go to ends the same way. Once people recognize their names, the doors slam shut. No one wants to hire a group of ex-criminals, no matter how much they've changed. As if that isn't enough, a new thief has been making waves in the city, the mysterious Phantom Bandit. This thief is stealing valuable artifacts, and weirdly, using some of the bad guys' old tricks, like the signature confetti bomb. It's not just frustrating, it's making them look guilty again. Meanwhile, Wolf has been training with Diane, their former rival who's now the governor. Their relationship is kinda flirty, but they're trying to keep things strictly professional. One day, Wolf vents to her about how hard it is to stay good when everyone still sees you as a villain. Diane reminds him that people want to trust him, but he's gotta give them a reason to. Inspired, Wolf heads over to the police station to talk to Misty Luggins, who's now the police commissioner. She's not exactly thrilled to see him, but Wolf insists he just wants to help with the Phantom Bandit investigation. He brings in Shark, Piranha, and Tarantula to brainstorm. Eventually, they figure out something big. All the items the Phantom Bandit stole are made from a super rare metal called megapanite. That means the thief isn't just stealing for fun, they're collecting something specific. The next big target? A championship wrestling belt known as the Belt of Guadalamo, which is also made from megapanite. Wolf and the crew know it's gonna be the next hit. But then something weird happens. Wolf starts suspecting Snake. He hasn't been hanging out with them much lately, and his schedule weirdly lines up with the Phantom Bandit's heist. The crew follows Snake to the wrestling arena, ready to catch him in the act. But Snake drops a surprise. He's not planning a heist, he's just dating someone new. Her name's Susan, and she's a raven. The crew bursts out laughing until they spot a huge pig luchador wrestler who looks very suspicious. That pig might actually be the real Phantom Bandit. Next thing you know, the bad guys somehow end up in the wrestling ring. Shark and Piranha even throw on matching wrestling costumes. But when Wolf tries to unmask the pig luchador mid-fight, she pulls a slick move. She wraps the championship belt around Piranha. To everyone watching, including Commissioner Luggins, it looks like the bad guys are stealing it. The crowd loses it. The gang barely escapes, chased by fans and police. Just when they're cornered, Susan rolls up in a hot dog truck and rescues them. They speed off, but now there's a citywide warrant out for their arrest. On the way, Snake tells everyone how he met Susan and how their relationship started. Wolf calls Diane to explain that they're being framed. Diane wants to help, but says she needs real evidence, something solid to go on. Wolf tells her about the megapanite connection, and Diane warns him not to trust anyone. Then she suits up and secretly heads off to confront someone unexpected, Marmalade. Yep. The villain they took down earlier is still alive, now locked away in prison. But he's changed, he's bulked up and looks like he's been working out 24/7. Diane wants answers and Marmalade agrees to help, but only if she plays a game of Connect 4 with him. Classic villain move. Back with Wolf and the crew, things take a dark turn. When Wolf returns to their hideout, he finds his whole team knocked out, and then Susan turns on him too. She shoots him with a tranquilizer, and everything fades to black. They wake up tied up in a hideout, face to face with the real phantom bandits. It turns out the thief crew is made up of Kitty Cat, Susan, and the pig wrestler, whose name is Pigtail. They're all huge fans of the bad guys and want them to help pull off their next big heist. Wolf says no way, they're the good guys now. But Kitty has a secret weapon. She shows them old video footage that proves Diane used to be the Crimson Paw, a legendary thief. If that video goes public, Diane's career as governor will be over. Kitty threatens to release it unless the bad guys help with the heist. Now they're stuck. For Diane's sake, they agree to help. Snake, weirdly enough, is even more into Susan after learning she betrayed him. Love's complicated, I guess. The next mission? Kitty wants them to steal a high-tech remote control watch from a mega-rich guy named Jeremiah Moon. He's launching a rocket soon, and the watch can control the whole thing. Kitty's crew plans to hijack it. To do this, the bad guys crash Moon's fancy wedding. The Wolf goes undercover again, this time as some fancy billionaire guest to cozy up to Moon and snatch the watch. Everything's running smooth, until, bam, that same Egyptian billionaire from the very beginning of the movie shows up at the party. And guess what? He's starting to recognize Wolf. Kitty is not happy when Wolf doesn't grab the watch as planned, but don't worry, Wolf always has a backup plan. Shark steps in pretending to be the wedding officiant while Wolf stays disguised as the bride. Things get wild when the Egyptian billionaire starts shouting that something's off. But surprise, just before he exposes anything, the bad guys switch out Wolf with the real bride, who'd been accidentally tranquilized. Smooth, right? After the switch, Wolf tells Kitty that everything was part of the distraction plan. Piranha and Tarantula had already set up a fake confrontation to make the billionaire lose it and draw all attention away, giving Wolf just enough time to snatch the remote watch without anyone noticing. Meanwhile, back in prison, Diane is still dealing with Marmalade, the evil little guinea pig villain from last time. He explains that megapanite, the rare metal used in the stolen items, works like a super-powered magnet. Anyone who controls it could basically suck up gold from anywhere on Earth. That's when Diane realizes Kitty's crew is planning to use the megapanite to magnetize the world's gold. Just as she's leaving, Marmalade casually mentions that Kitty had also come to visit him. That makes things even more suspicious. Diane checks the security footage and, sure enough, sees Kitty was his last visitor. Meanwhile, Wolf and his crew are getting ready to leave. He's just gotten the USB drive with Diane's embarrassing past heist footage from Kitty. But before they go, Kitty questions Wolf, asking if he really thinks turning good was the right move, or if he's secretly missing the thrill of being bad. That comment kinda lingers in Wolf's head. Back in the van, the crew is prepping to release a video confession from Kitty that proves she set them up. But when they try to leave, their engine won't start. That's when it hits. They've been set up again. Kitty, Susan, and Pigtail had already sabotaged their getaway. The crew is suddenly captured, chained up with gold handcuffs, and Kitty finally reveals her big plan. She shows them the full power of the megapanite. It's a giant magnet that only pulls gold. Her goal? To launch the Tom X rocket and suck up all the gold on Earth. Then she drops another bomb. She's about to upload the video that shows Diane's criminal past. The only way to stop it is with a remote she hands to Wolf. But there's a catch. If he tries to free his team from the magnet's pull, the video finishes uploading. While all that's happening, Susan calls Commissioner Luggins and tips her off on the bad guy's location. As Kitty's gang walks out, Wolf and the team try everything they can to stop the upload and escape. Tarantula works her hacking magic but can't override the system. Wolf even tries smashing the laptop, but it's too late. The video goes viral in seconds. Everyone finds out Diane used to be the Crimson Paw. Diane rushes to confront Kitty and her crew as they're boarding the rocket with the megapanite. She quickly takes out Susan and Pigtail with some slick fighting moves. But then, Diane checks her phone and sees all the hate messages pouring in from the public. Everyone knows the truth now. And to make things worse, Marmalade's been cleared and set free. While Diane's distracted, Kitty knocks her out cold and gets on the rocket with Susan and Pigtail. Even though Diane's been tranquilized, she manages to sneak aboard right before takeoff. At the same time, the bad guys are being arrested. They try to explain to Luggins that they're innocent and being framed, but she isn't buying it. Still, while driving them to the station, Luggins starts to change her mind. She's actually grown to like these guys. They manage to convince her that the rocket launch needs to be stopped. So, Luggins goes full action hero and gets a chopper to fly the bad guys up high enough so they can parachute onto the rocket. And they do, Mission Impossible style. Once inside the rocket, things get chaotic. Kitty attaches the megapanite balls to the tip of the rocket and starts pulling in gold from all over the globe. Wolf goes after the control watch while Snake and Piranha try to take over the shuttle, and Shark and Tarantula get to work hacking the system. But of course, nothing goes smoothly. Piranha freaks out and lets out a huge fart inside his and Snake's space suit, causing total chaos. Meanwhile, Susan and Pigtail see what's happening. They're actually starting to care about the bad guys. But when they mention this to Kitty, she flips out. She refuses to let anything get in the way of her plan. That's the last straw for Susan and Pigtail. They turn on Kitty. Wolf finally makes it into Kitty's pod and confronts her. The two get into a serious fight. In the middle of the struggle, Wolf snatches the control watch and activates the remote, helping his crew break free from the megapanite's magnetic pull. Working together, the team crashes the rocket shuttle right into the megapanite, wrecking it and sending all the stolen gold falling back down to Earth. Diane jumps in to help at the last second and helps Wolf take Kitty down by slamming her into an electric panel. Then, in the middle of all the wreckage and madness, Wolf and Diane finally kiss. The gang, including Snake, Shark, Tarantula, Piranha, Diane, Susan, and Pigtail, pile into the station module as it starts falling back to Earth. Later, the city holds a massive funeral, thinking the bad guys sacrificed themselves. Everyone who once doubted them is now crying and finally sees them as heroes. But psych, it was all part of the plan. Commissioner Luggins had helped them fake their deaths. As for Kitty, she gets sent to prison, while Susan and Pigtail are let off with community service for turning on her. At the end, Luggins introduces the crew to two mysterious guys from an international agency. These guys want the bad guys to help out on future secret missions. And with that, Wolf, Diane, and the whole gang suit up, ready to take on a brand new role. The bad guys are now secret agents. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you're into animated movies and awesome stories like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more fun recaps. Catch you in the next one.